Hey everybody, movie review next door here and I'm back with another review. This time I saw Roadhouse. It's a 1989 action thriller film directed by, actually, let me move the camera over a bit. There you go. Action thriller film directed by Rowdy Harrington, and it stars Patrick Swayze, Kelly Lynch, Sam Elliott, Ben Gazzara, Marshall Teague, and Kathleen Woolhoit. In this There you go. In this film, the Double Deuce is the meanest, loudest, rowdiest bar south of the Mason-Dixon line, and Dalton has been hired to clean it up. He might not look like much, but the PhD educated bouncer proves he's more than capable, busting the heads of troublemakers and turning the roadhouse into a jumping hotspot. But Dalton's romance with the gorgeous Dr. Clay puts him on the bad side of cutthroat local big shot Brad Wesley. So, what did I think of Roadhouse? Well, I've always enjoyed this film. I've always had some issues with it, and I'll get to that. But I really think this film, while it is decently high rated in a lot of places, I do think a lot of the things that it's known for, I kind of agree and disagree with how people go about it. I'll explain, but let me get to the cast. Patrick Swayze plays James Dalton, who is kind of a rumored bouncer in the bouncer business. He's rumored to have killed a guy, ripped his throat out. Um, he's he tries to be peaceful, and if peace doesn't work, he fights. He's one of those. Patrick Swayze, I do think can be a very decent actor. His acting here, it's fine for what he needs to do, but he's not going to win any awards with this performance. It's not an amazing performance. He does what he needs to, but he does not emote a lot in this performance. And that's a tiny issue for me, but I still think he works in the fight scenes for sure. Kelly Lynch plays Dr. Elizabeth Clay. He meets her after he gets cut up and has to go to the doctor's office. I didn't mind her. I don't mind Kelly Lynch as an actress. I think she was also in Virtuosity, maybe? Yeah. I didn't mind her there either. Um, she's mostly an actor that I'm just like, and whatever. She's there. She doesn't really stick out as being really that good, but she's fine. She's hot as hell. She really is. I think this is one of the few movies that back in the day that did that whole thing well of like, oh, you put her in glasses and had her hair tied up so she looks like a nerd, and then you later see her with her hair down, no glasses, and she looks super hot. Um, I think this film did that well, but yeah, I didn't mind her. Uh, Sam Elliott plays Wade Garrett, who's a friend of Dalton's. I really like Sam Elliott in this, even if it does feel like he's speaking a bit too low a lot of the time. Ben Gazzara plays Brad Wesley. I really like Ben Gazzara. I think he plays an awesome villain. He's in an underrated movie called Capone about Al Capone that was produced by Roger Corman. I've always enjoyed that film. I always thought it was a bit underrated acting wise, especially for him. Um, but yeah, he plays a very mustache twirling villain in this, and I really enjoy what he does with the character. Um, Marshall Teague plays Jimmy, who's kind of the right-hand man of Brad Wesley. Marshall Teague is known for being in a lot of films from Millennium. He was in U.S. Steel's 2. Uh, he's also in some PM Entertainment films. He's usually kind of a side actor. He's almost never a main actor, but he was good as a main actor in Special Forces. I think he works here for what he has to do. And Kathleen Woolhoit plays Carrie, who's kind of a worker at the bar. I enjoyed her as occasional comic relief, and it was nice that she got to do a bit of singing as well in the film. Um, And also she's kind of the no nonsense, like there's a bit where she like uh defends herself from somebody about to hit her with a knife or a bottle, and then she like bashes him on the fucking head. That was cool. But here's the thing with this film. Um, I'd say this film is kind of put under the whole trying to keep that stable. And I know it can be annoying when my computer screen shakes, but I don't really have anywhere else to put it. Um, but you can say that this film, in a lot of people's minds, is put under the category of so bad it's good, where they think, oh, it's kind of cheesy or whatever. Those are the words they use, not me. I'm not a fan of the word. Um, it's kind of goofy, silly. But to be honest, this is one of the more like realistic action films of the time. Especially with how it does the action. The action isn't really that flashy for the most part. It's pretty, I don't know if it's kung fu. It's kind of more just a brawling style of fighting, but I'm fine with it because it's brutal. You have good sound effects. You have I, I love how much of this bar just gets destroyed throughout some of these fights. Like the amount of tables that break, the amount of tables people are thrown into that just fucking fall apart or break in half. I love the amount of bottles that get broken over people's heads. It's very obvious that a lot of time went into choreographing these fights. And I do think they're well choreographed to the point where it just feels like a real brawl. It doesn't feel like a choreographed fight, you know? It does what's supposed to. It feels like an actual fight. And again, Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott seem to be doing their own fighting. I was looking throughout the film to see if I could spot stunt doubles, like with weird wigs or anything, but no, I think for the most part, Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott do a pretty good job in that. Um, and again, I think they pull it off, the whole tough guy thing. Um, the film also has a really nice score from Michael Kamen that works pretty well. Kind of a country western and also kind of rockabilly sound to it, and I enjoyed that. Thought it fit pretty well. Um, again, the action is well done, so it's not like it's sloppy or anything. It can be pretty brutal at times. There's a bit near the end where a character is um well, I don't want to give that away. I will just say there are some bits near the end of this movie that are pretty fucking graphic, and I can see in many instances why this movie, the Canadian rating is 18A. Watching it again, I realized that we're a lot more, there was a lot more nudity than I remember there being. Um, to the point where there's a bit where Sam Elliott's showing off like a scar he has, and you can literally see his fucking like pubic hair, and I'm like, I don't know who this is for. Not sure. I mean, I didn't mind it. It was like just kind of a scene of like, look, he's a badass, but like, I don't know. But this is a it I like looking again, seeing that this movie was 2 hours long. I will say there were a couple scenes where I think they went on a bit too long, and the pacing would feel a lot more lightning fast if those were cut down. Especially the scene where Ben Gazzara's character comes into the bar and his girlfriend is like on the stage dancing with the blind guy who's Dalton's friend. That scene went on a bit too long, as it was mostly a prelude to a fight between Patrick Swayze and Marshall Teague's characters. Um, but um, again, I think the film does a very good job of also making Patrick Swayze's character a bit more realistic. He's not just invincible, he's not just fighting everybody all at once. There's times where other people have to join in order to defend him because again, he's just one guy. And I like that this film did that. It I feel if it was just him like against everybody and like not getting hurt at all and all that, I feel like it would make the film a lot more boring, especially given that it's trying to be a bit more realistic and down to earth with a lot of its um like the storyline, like most of the storyline being just like evil guy who has a hold on the town because he revived it. And yeah, I like that there pretty much every fight that happens, he does get injured. And especially near the end, he looks beaten the fuck up. And I like that. I like that in a main character, no matter if it's a more goofy type of film or like over the top, or a more like down to earth. And again, you can argue that this film is just kind of popcorn entertainment, but I think people uh eh, don't give it enough praise for certain things like that, especially that Dalton is again not just like constantly talking about how badass he is or like trying to flex for the camera. He's an actual character with a checkered past. He's an interesting character. And um another thing this film does a couple times that I thought was like kind of cool. There's bits where there's nice bits of visual storytelling without like telling the audience things. There's a bit where a character who was kind of all over Dalton, you see her be dragged away by Marshall Teague's character at the bar. Like she wanted to sleep with him and not Marshall. And then later you see Swayze's character brought in to that house, and you see her with a black eye and she's just trying to cover it up, or she turns around to cover it up. I liked that. I liked that they told the story without having to directly tell you, oh, he beat the shit out of her. And I like when movies don't treat the audience like they're fucking idiots. And this movie doesn't do that. I think Roddy Harrington did a very great job with the direction and with all of that stuff. If I had some issues with the film, I'd say certain things in the certain characters don't really get. I'm not going to say which character, but a certain character doesn't really get that interesting of an exit from the film. It just kind of comes out of nowhere and with little to no setup. And it just kind of feels like a clunky way of getting our main character to uh like get his revenge on Ben Gazzara's character. So I wasn't huge on that. Um I think the climax is a bit abrupt. It it the again, along with that character's exit, it just kind of goes after that, and it's not a lot of things just aren't really explained, especially like the very end when all of these characters are talking about the event that happens at the end. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I will say that it does not make a lot of sense. And again, Patrick Swayze, even though I don't performance, he's still not like that amazing in the film. It's mostly the fact that he's able to look like a bouncer and give off that energy. But overall, I do still think this is a very fun, very enjoyable piece of 80s action. And again, I'm not going to compare it to other movies, but I do think it is worth watching if you're into the action genre, especially if you like Patrick Swayze. But yeah, that was my review of Roadhouse. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.